right. I think we're hot. Oh, I'm loud too. Hold on here. 3, 2, 1. Good. All right. I think we're hot. All right, let's see. It's a little loud. We're back, but first the sponsors. www.johnbartoloshow.com lists a complete list of all the sponsors. Go check them out. I can't thank them all today. I'm going to thank a few right now, especially Sig Sauer. Go check out Sig Sauer. Love their stuff. They're huge supporters of the show. We appreciate them. I want to thank Inforce, Volquartsen, Gallotech, Rhino Metals, Blackwater Ammunition, everybody in between. Go to the website. Go check out all the sponsors. We could not do the show without them. The best way to support the show is like, share, subscribe, and thank you all. We appreciate you. And I got a special guest today. I got to hype him a little bit. I'm a fan. It's rare that I am a fan of some of these people that I have on the show. I'm kidding. I love you all. But I love this guy. I like what he's doing. I see what he's doing. Super intelligent, super smart, getting in a really creative space. We have Geoff from Sports Card Collector. Sports Card Investor or Investors. How do I say that, Geoff?
Sports Card Investors, great.
So that's the group.
Yeah.
You're the investor.
I'm the investor.
See how that works? So what the hell made you get into this and why?
Yeah, I mean, sports cards have been absolutely booming the last couple of years. And I know you, like, on your show sometimes you like talking about business and, investment and different approaches to things. And
of course.
There's been very few things you could have put your money in over the last couple of years that would have made you more return than sports cards. It has been an incredible run, and I think that run is just getting started. And it caught my attention a few years ago. I collected a bunch as a kid. I know you did as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't do it for many, many years. I kind of lost touch with it. But a few years ago, I've got a son. He started to get into it. I started to get back into it again. And I looked at it and I said, man, this thing is going to explode again. And I saw kind of a vision for the fact that I thought sports cards could become every bit as hyped or more hyped than they were back in the late 80s, early 90s, and become a really sustainable opportunity to collect something that actually would go up in value over time. When
you started putting big money into it, when you started say, and I don't mean to say big, sorry about the ice maker in the corner, but if it's, let's say $100,000.
Yeah.
Were people around you like, Geoff, what are you smoking?
Yeah, so the first time I put that type of money into a card, well, it wasn't quite that much, but I went to the National in 2019. It was in Chicago. The National is the big sports card show every year. And I went there, brought cash with me, and my wife came because she just wanted to kind of see the spectacle. So there's a Michael Jordan card, and I said, okay, honey, I want to buy this card. I'm going to buy this card. $14,000. It was a Michael Jordan rookie card in 9.5 condition. Cards are rated on condition now. This one was 9.5, which is really good. Not the best, but it was really good. $14,000. And I told her I'm going to buy this, and she thought I had lost my friggin' mind.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like, "Is this some weird?"
That's how you lose credibility in the house for a short period of time.
Yes.
That's how you clamoring.
But today that card's worth around $100,000.
So she's cool. Now she's in.
She is totally cool, and of course now I've invested. I mean, many multiples of that. Millions. I think I've got about 5 million right now in cards.
But there's always that gray period, Geoff, where they look across from you and they're like, the fuck are you doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a leap. It's a leap.
What advice do you give guys that maybe want to get into it, that want to get over that hurdle?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm qualified to help with marital issues at home, but if you are able to show some early success, it's probably not different than any other business venture, right? So I'm a tech investor, an entrepreneur, I've done a bunch of startups, and you really want to be able to prove traction early. Like, you want to be able to show, like, hey, I'm in this for 3 months, I'm in this for 6 months. And look, I've got my first few customers, I made my first few dollars. Cards are kind of the same. So if you're going to jump into it, try to buy some things, and then 3 months later, 6 months later, flip them and actually pull some dollars out. That makes your case a lot stronger. I
agree. And I know, and to everybody listening, we are not here to give marital advice, but there is some components that play into this because it's coming out of the phase, in my opinion, of being a kind of hobby thing to where, like, it was associated with, like, you were a kid, you traded cards with your friends. I don't even know how to explain it. I put them in my bike, and then and so everybody listening that's under 30, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But for the most part, it's a very challenging sport, I don't want to say sport, hobby to get, and I don't like saying hobby, investment to get into, because the barrier of entry to really build a proper collection is expensive. And you guys talked about this, and this is what I love about your channel. You said if you're down to your last $300 or whatever, don't get it. This isn't for you. Now, I had a lot of friends ask me, at what point is it for them?
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, so first of all, yes, investing in sports cards, it is somewhat speculative, right? I mean, let's not drain our 401k accounts and, or take out a second mortgage on the house and throw it all into cards. Not the best idea. But one of the nice things about cards is you can get into it at all kinds of different dollar levels. So if you wanted to put in the work and the hustle, you can put $50 in. You could go to a card show. You could go through the dollar bins at a card show. All these dealers will take basically all the cards they don't want to individually price because they're not worth enough to individually price, and they'll toss them in these giant boxes.
Dollar bins.
And they'll say anything $1, right? And they'll put them out on their counter. Well, you can often, if you go through those dollar bins, you can often find cards that are worth $5, $10, $25, occasionally $50, sometimes $100 that have just been in there for a while. The dealer doesn't know what's in there. The player has gotten hot. Their card went from $1 to $50.
$50.
And there are people that will go to card shows that is all they will do. And there are people who I've met that have gone to card shows and literally have brought $25 to dig through dollar bins and have turned it into $1,000 at the end of the card show.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, you can do it. It takes effort. It takes understanding of the cards and the what the values are and everything like that in order to do it. So you can get in at a lower level, but most people are putting in a little bit bigger dollars. They're buying cards that are typically hundreds of dollars a piece.
Now, when someone ventures down that road and says, I want to start it, and the key word to everybody listening is investment. I want to start investing in this. I want to start putting my money into this. What usually, like when people say to me, I want to buy a gun, John, or anything like that, or I usually say, you need about, if you buy one, you need about 5. You need an AR, you need a 22, you need a Glock, there's like a shotgun. Is there like a training wheels approach to getting, into the game? Like if you were to buy, one of my best friends asked me one card as an investment, but give me like your 5 if you were a casual person, you just wanted to make this a piece of your portfolio.
Sure. So I'd say initially there's 2 ways you could split off. You could either go for, retired or all-time great players who are those cards historically over time, and the market fluctuates up and down, but historically those cards are kind of more of your steady risers, slow but steady. Typically your Hall of Famers, right? They're not going to blow out an ACL because they're no longer playing.
Right.
So they're, if you Magic Johnson cards or Larry Bird cards or Walter Payton cards or Emmitt Smith cards or you go to baseball and Ricky Henderson cards or older. I mean, obviously
the upside's been established.
Yeah.
Upside.
Tony Gwynn, Kirby Puckett. There's a lot of guys from the 80s and 90s that are not very. Their cards aren't very expensive that you could get into. So you could get those cards. Get 5 players from the sport you love. Or the other way you can go is you can go for the modern players, the guys who are currently playing the game, the guys who are younger in their careers. Like, for example, if you had bought Kyler Murray cards this summer, his cards have absolutely shot up out of a cannon just based on his week 1 performance, right? Now, on the flip side, if you buy, that's more speculative though, if you buy a player who then comes out and performs really poorly, then their cards could drop right away. So you're taking more of a risk. But if you're in it for a little more of the excitement and gamble, if you're thinking about cards a little bit like how you might think of fantasy sports, then you want to buy the newer guys who are currently playing.
Yeah, if you want to wheel and deal a little bit, you move to the currents, and then there's the established. If you were to, one of my friends got a little bit of money. I'm not going to say his name because people on here might know him, but he asked me, he said, if there was one card to buy, and I actually gave him the answer. I said, I've watched this guy enough. I said, the answer is Jordan. He's going to say a Jordan rookie. Would you agree with that? If there was one, if you were like,
if it's a card you want to buy and you want to stick away in your safe and you want to pull it out 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now and know that thing is likely worth a lot more than what you paid for today, yeah, Jordan rookie would be absolutely, or even like a second year Jordan if you don't want to pay for the rookie. But absolutely, that's just a key card.
What's a perfect 10 rookie go for now?
The most recent sale of that, I think, was around 400,000, little over 400,000 for the 1986 Fleer PSA 10 Jordan rookie. Now that doesn't but that's available in all grade levels. So the interesting thing is, you can get into that card for a couple $1,000. You know, you could, if you've got, you know, $2,000, you can get into that card. Just the grade of your card on the 1 to 10 scale is going to be a lot lower. It might be like a 3 if you're going to get into it for a couple $1,000, right? Whereas it goes up and up and up. You can get into a 9 for, I think, $30,000, maybe a little less than $30,000, and that's near perfect. Or the 10, which is the perfect ones, are going to cost you, $400,000 to $500,000.
Yeah, it's amazing what I learned a lot from your channel was it's quite a difference when you go from a 9 to a 10. Even those 0.1s and 0.2s to everybody listening out there mean thousands.
Yeah.
Literally tens of thousands in some cases.
I mean, with the Jordan, look at, and most cards don't have this much of a spread, but to go literally from $30,000 for a 9 grade to $400,000 to $500,000 for a 10 grade, and if you sit them next to each other, man, they look really close. It's just that the 9 one might have a little bit of a corner dinged in or something like that, whereas the 10 looks perfectly sharp.
Well, if the grading or regulating bodies are anything like the ones in our industry, they leave much to be desired. So it's always a struggle to try to convince them. We think all our stuff is a 10 for the record, everybody. We think everything's a 10.
Of course.
There is some shitty cards out there, not for nothing. I have seen some lousy prints. I was going to do something. I was looking for the worst. I want to talk about this for a second with you. The worst case. I almost said I'm going to buy the worst case, and Geoff and I are going to open it in the end, and we'll talk about it. But I did some digging and I did some looking, and it's actually hard to find some of the worst cases. I think it's like 86 tops is one of the worst, or 87.
Because that late 80s stuff was super overprinted, like from 87 through even 86 through early 90s. That stuff, it's still worth very, very little. You can buy cases that are
it was high cheese.
Yeah, well, because they made millions and millions and millions, and they way overprinted based on demand, and they flooded the market with supply to try to make dollars. But as a result of that, they ended up actually kind of killing the sports card market for really a couple of decades. Things really, really slowed down. And now we're seeing it all heat back up again. And they're not printing today to the same degree they used to back then. But there is always the concern that these companies that are making the cards now, how much are they printing? Are they printing too much? There are things about sports cards today that do protect them from not having the same issues they had in the late 80s. Like, for example, a lot of the higher end cards are serial numbered, so you know exactly how many were ever produced. So if you want to go buy Luka Doncic's key rookie card, there's only 99 of that card in existence, and they're all serial numbered 1 of 99 if you're going to go get like his national treasures. So you have some protection for some of the higher end cards. In fact, you've got a Trevor Lawrence here. I'm noticing you got a bunch of cards here. This one, for example, is serial number to 599, right? This is one of his first rookie cards from Panini Elite. So at least with this particular card, there's only 599 of this card that have ever been produced. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this card is the most, valuable or sought after, but at least it's got some protection built in there. You've got some other, this one's probably, this one's serial number to 10.
And she signed the front of that, and I want to get into the different nuances of the cards. Now, some people have said this is a term used, it's death by 1,000 parallels, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any fear that they are coming out? Because I noticed in the UFC cases, there's just too many, Geoff.
Yeah, it's hard to track it all. So, yeah. And you've got some UFC boxes here too. By the way, UFC cards have gotten super hot. I was here in Vegas. The reason why I'm here is there's a what's called the Industry Summit going on, which is the heads of many of the major sports card companies. So, for example, all the heads of Panini are at this thing. And so yesterday, Panini did their presentation, to the group on, kind of what they're doing with future cards. And they 100% focused it on UFC. They had Dustin Poirier come out there, and he was on stage.
And Georgie was there too.
Yeah. And they were both hyping cards, and they were both really cool, by the way. Spent time with the audience and, and everything like that. It was a great show. But yeah, they were also going through the stats of how UFC cards have grown in popularity over the last year. It's been incredible.
The UFC, to me, and this is outside of the carding realm, has gained the most ground through COVID. And I think whether you're a collector or a fan of sports, the UFC's done a phenomenal job. removing itself from a lot of the BS, if you will, and staying focused on putting its product out there and delivering a product to ESPN, which is tremendously important to Dana, which is really passionate to him is the content and getting that pumped out. When these cards came along at first, I was like, I'm not going to buy cards. This is crazy. Then I was really watching a lot of your stuff, and I said, I'm going to take a flyer on this UFC stuff and see where it goes. And of course, being friends with so many of them, I had Claudia Gadeja in here the other day. Claudia was kind enough to sign a bunch of cards. Now, when you have somebody sign a card, which is a childhood, dream we all have, getting our superstar local athlete to sign a card, and we do that, are we damaging the value of the card?
Yeah, some people would say yes. I think that's really short-sighted and silly. But there are examples. If you've got a really rare card, like it is interesting that this card is like serial number to 10. So this is actually one of her more valuable cards.
I have her one of one too in there.
Do you? Some collectors would say, well, because she signed it, the card is no longer perfect, and it's some collectors would say that actually could diminish the value. I disagree, and we're starting to see the market on that change a little bit. There have been examples of times when people have signed cards and the value has dropped. However, we are seeing that autograph cards tend to be going for more and more these days. Now, what the key is, what you need to do with this one now is you need to go get this authenticated or graded. Because
Absolutely.
The one concern people have about buying a card that has been autographed like this, where it wasn't factory autographed, but you had it autographed after the fact, is they're concerned, is that autograph real? Or are you just sitting there, autographing a zillion cards and trying to sell them on eBay as real when they're not real? So people won't pay much for it unless it's graded and authenticated. If you get a grading company to authenticate the auto and encapsulate it, then it becomes a lot more valuable. And to be quite honest, I think this is badass. Like the fact that you got her gold card number to 10, which is
she's held it. That's where I think the value is.
And she hand signed it. And I love she used the silver ink, which is really freaking cool, right over across the middle of the card. I think that's beautiful. As a collector, if I were collecting her cards personally, I would rather buy this one than, especially if it was graded and authenticated, than any of the others numbered to 10 because of what you said. She held it, she signed it, silver ink across it. Really beautiful card.
And I put her one of one over there, Geoff, only because I wanted you to draw that comparison of a one of one, a rare item, not signed. And I wanted to kind of talk through when someone should have it signed versus not. Maybe not all the time, right? Maybe not right now because the market hasn't fully come around.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have the one of one sign because that is, inherently just, extremely rare. It's the only, so a one of one means it's serial numbered one of one. There's only one of this particular version of the card, the black border around it. There's only one of these that was ever made. So did you bought this on the secondary market or did you pull this?
That was bought on the secondary market. I bought her 7 of 8. I think that's the 7 of 10. I think that's the 8 of 10 or one or the other. But I have 2 of them.
Yeah.
So Claudia's a friend.
You're cornering the market.
Well,
that's good.
People who are my friends, like Mike Chiesa, Claudia Gadeja, and they know who they are out there. They come by, they sign, or they'll hang out. I really love collecting their cards. Valentina, I consider a friend. She's been on this show twice now or 3 times, and I have a pile of her cards. I bought a lot of them because I think it starts with the passion of having a relationship with the person for me, and then from there proliferates. I went out and bought a few Trevor Lawrences, and that was your influence on me. But obviously, being a Patriots fan, I got the Mac Joneses. I had to. I have the Brady rookie cards. I have that stuff because it really, to me, the passion starts with who you have the relationship with, whether it's a real relationship that you've actually met them or you've watched them on the field throughout your whole life and had that experience. To me, that's tremendously important.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. And that's one of the really cool things about investing in sports cards. One of the reasons why I love it is you can invest in something you actually love. Something you actually appreciate, right? And so for me, and that should have an influence on what kind of cards you're going to go after. Like if you're in it strictly for the money, that's okay. But I think that where the real magic of sports cards comes is to be in it for the combination of kind of the passion, where your heart is, and the money. So collect what you love. So for me, for example, when I was growing up, I remember, the NBA late 80s, early 90s. Those were kind of formative sports years for me. So I'm enjoying collecting a lot of the 80s and 90s basketball stars. And that's why I own a bunch of Jordan and Bird and Magic, because I remember watching those guys. Whereas, a lot of people like collect Wilt Chamberlain cards or collect, other all-time great. Those guys don't mean as much to me. I never saw them play. Mickey Mantle, people go gaga over Mickey Mantle cards. But I don't own a single Mickey Mantle card because it doesn't have the same emotional impact on me. I don't know Mickey Mantle. I did know the stars. I love Bo Jackson cards.
Right.
Because I remember what a shooting star Bo Jackson was.
Bo Jackson is the most failed athlete by the memorabilia community, in my opinion. I mean, because I think Bo Jackson walks on water. Mm-hmm. I think that was the best athlete that's ever walked this planet. Maybe Dion has a case for that. Okay. But to me, Bo Jackson gets a bad rap. His cards aren't worth a whole hell of a lot.
Right.
It's insane to me.
Yeah, I guess, his career obviously was pretty shortened due to injury.
Right.
But what he was doing during that short career was unbelievable.
He was electric. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
If you asked any guy, and we're in a similar age bracket, in our age bracket, probably 38 to 48 would probably say Bo Jackson was Jesus Christ, on any field playing.
He really was. He was
a superstar.
Yeah.
Now, I know you have a passion for NBA, and this may be a good opportunity to do this. We had a local card shop, friends of mine, they actually said, oh my God, you're going to have Geoff on? Game Day Sports Cards here.
Awesome.
They know you're an NBA fan. Go check out Game Day Sports Cards. It's at 1600 Raiders Way. We're gonna open a box of these each. We're gonna take a look. I've never ripped modern basketball.
So here you go. This is a good box. This is absolute basketball. This is 2020, 2021. So these are the new players. So you're going for a LaMelo Ball rookie would be really cool in this product, or Anthony Edwards or one of the new guys. And this is, you're gonna get 5 cards per pack, 2 packs per box. So this is there's only 10 cards in this box.
Now, why do they do that? Talk me through that.
Well, so different sets. Some are focused on getting you lots of cards. But the cards themselves are probably not that valuable individually. Others are more kind of big hit, high risk, high reward boxes. That's what this is, because this is only 10 cards, but it tells you right on the front of the box that 2 of the cards are going to be autographed. And 2 of the cards are going to be memorabilia.
So is this a box that you should buy?
It could be. It could be. Well, so here's the thing.
There's a signed Kobe in it.
The thing is that, in general, buying and opening boxes like what we're about to do,
losing venture.
Generally, it's a losing venture. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. But from an investment standpoint, what we're about to do here, opening these, is a losing venture.
And shout out to Game Day again, sports cards, 1600 Raider Way.
But it's a lot of fun. So I open boxes often, but I do it for fun, and sometimes you'll hit something big, and most of the time you won't, but sometimes you'll hit like some crazy valuable card. And
I want to say that the quality of box, Geoff, has gone up. Like just the presentation. And I pay a lot. I mean, being a marketing guy coming from that background, I mean, just the presentation, guys, of these boxes. I mean, these are not, your early 90s, late 80s wax pack type of things. So, again, shout out to Game Day. Those guys are great. 1600. Right away.
Yeah, it's fun to stop by your local card shop. And even if you don't know anything about cards, your local card shop's a good place to start, right? So if you're here in Vegas, going by Game Day is a great way to start, because they'll show you the ropes. They'll, and if there's some product you want to just try, buying a couple packs and, buying some of the new UFC product, buying some packs, ripping and see what you get. It's great to go by a card shop and be able to get that experience.
All right, we got a Derrick Rose. We're not giving these away or battling, so I don't need to show the cards. I know how the YouTube warriors get. We're gonna get to that, the scams, because that I find funny. Oh wow, Kevin Durant.
There you go.
That's gonna be a decent card, right?
Sure.
Good name.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a Jimmy Butler. Got a Steph Curry.
Oh, nice.
So that's always nice.
Oh wow.
Cool Steph Curry card.
What about this one? Anything?
Rookie Threads. Who is that? No, because he's not one of the top. He's not one of the top rookies.
Beat it. You got shit.
If it was like, if it was one of the top rookies, it would be a really good one.
Right.
So I got one of those as well.
That's a really cool
Devin Vassell. That is kind of an. Oh, you know what? So that's actually a really good card. That's a great card. That's Emmanuel Quickley of the New York Knicks. So Emmanuel Quickley is a rookie. He was drafted pretty low in the first round, I believe, by the Knicks, but he he had a great season. He was very impressive at point guard for the Knicks. He's going to be a big part of their future. And so what you pulled here is you pulled a card that's actually got 6 little bits of memorabilia. It's got a couple of pieces of jersey, and it's got a couple pieces of a basketball in there, and the card is signed. So it's numbered to 199. So that's basically one of his rookie patch type cards, or rookie jersey auto card, they would call that. So that card's going to have some value for someone who either thinks Emmanuel Quickley is going to go on to become a star, they'd be interested in it, or somebody who just likes to collect New York Knicks cards and that kind of thing, they'd be interested in it as well.
You see now, everybody listening, the knowledge that Geoff has. So don't go taking $5,000 going down to the store and just winging it.
Right. No, do your homework. Like anything else, do your homework. I got a Sam Perkins. So they'll also put, kind of all-time great players in these sets as well, retired players, that type of thing. So
this is awesome.
This is a Sam Perkins autograph card, numbered to 49. So that 49 of this card produced autograph cards. So pretty cool.
And I freaking love those old unis.
Yeah,
those were the shit.
The old Dallas Maverick uniforms. Goodness,
they were great. I got a rookie, a Cleveland rookie. I got a Devin Booker, Jared Allen. Let's see if we got anything good here. Jared Allen and auto LaMarcus Aldridge numbered. Jeez,
I think he's coming back to play again, isn't he?
No, God, no.
I think he is.
100.
I think he is. Yeah, number to 199. Cool.
LaMarcus, if you're coming back, we're rooting for you.
I think he is.
Drop 20. So these and I want to highlight to everybody.
So this Emmanuel Quickley was definitely the best there.
Yeah.
The best there of the bunch for you.
And I'm doing horrible card management here. Geoff knows. He's reprimanding me every step of the way. These are gorgeous cards. So I just want to say to everybody, I'll put the camera on me. These are freaking gorgeous cards. They're thicker. They're nicer. I would say the Flawless is the nicest, the highest, the Gucci,
sure.
right?
Well, that shows you how expensive cards can get, right? Because a box of Flawless is going to set you back typically like, maybe $5,000.
Wow.
$5,000 for a box with 10 cards in it. 10 cards.
And so all you guys thinking of getting in this, Geoff and I do not advise running out and starting with a box of Flawless. Your wife or girlfriend will probably leave you.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Don't go there.
If you want to get a sense for what the
market
cards
yields
are like and everything like that, you can, there's a lot of online breakers, right? So these are guys who will buy these expensive boxes, card shops, or other guys who just buy a lot of boxes, and they'll break them on like YouTube or on Instagram. And what you can do is you can buy into a break where you get, like, let's say if they're going to break a box of Flawless, instead of, maybe $5,000 a box, but what you can do is you can buy a single team, a single NBA team. So let's say you're a fan of, the Mavericks, right? You could buy the Mavericks. The Mavericks might cost $400, $300. You pay $300. Now, if any one of those 10 cards comes out of the box and it's a Mavericks player, that card's going to you. Of course, at the same time, if none of the 10 cards come out that are Mavericks, then you just pay $300 for nothing. But it is a way to at least get into a break of a really high-end product for less money.
Geoff, I got to compliment you. There was a beautiful segue. Let's get to the scam artists that do the breaks, because you brought up the breaks online.
Right.
I found a lot of compelling. Did you get anything good?
I got an Emmanuel Quickley rookie card like you did, not the same cool. Oh, this one's going to be a good one. Yes, this is a great card.
We're rich.
Tyrese Halliburton. So he was a pretty high draft pick by the Sacramento Kings, and he had a good rookie year. I think he was either runner-up or maybe, he was in the top 5 in voting for Rookie of the Year this year. He's a good player. And so same type of card you got with Quickley. It's a couple patches of jersey, patch of basketball, signed, number to 199.
Now, we just opened probably, was it like $400 or $500 worth of cards, something like that?
Yeah,
right?
These boxes are definitely a few $100 each.
Now, is the yield there? Now, we know it's not. You highlighted that earlier, and that's why I wanted to open these, just so everybody knows. What would you say the value of what we took out was, roughly? You don't have to give an exact. I know you're...
Maybe like half the value of the box,
right.
I'd say, with these. Now, if you had hit like a LaMelo Ball numbered 1 of 1 or numbered 1 of 10 or something like that, then you would have ended up with a card that's worth a lot more than the box. But to hit some of these other rookies that are still really good rookies, but they're secondary, you're definitely getting some of the money back, but we probably didn't get enough back here to pay for the whole box.
Of course.
And that's how it goes. Most of the times you open the boxes, that's how it goes. And then occasionally you'll get that box where you get the 1 of 1 or you get the, really, number to 10 card.
Is there any effort when you talk to these companies, and I do want to get to the scammers, but is there any effort when you talk to these companies to kind of, I feel like they're going the way with all these parallels, Geoff, of like Magic cards. They saw like the benefit to Pokemon. Magic cards of coming out with all these different things that sub collections, off of them. Is there any effort on you guys to say, hey, we need a clearer path so people understand what a true rookie is versus this versus this versus this? Do you think there's too many parallels and too many quote unquote rookies or special cards?
Yeah, there are. And look, the card companies are in a tough spot right now because demand for cards has exploded over the last couple of years, right? So as a result, what the card companies are trying to do is they're trying to They want to print more cards to meet demand. There's so much demand that they need to print more cards to meet demand. And they're trying to figure out, well, how do we do this in a way that still gives people the thrill of opening packs and being able to hit big cards and makes it available to them without totally watering down all the cards. So basically what they've started to do is they've started to add more and more what are called parallels, which is essentially if LaMelo Ball has his rookie card this year, he's got his base rookie card, but then it's also available in 50 different colors or 100 different colors.
Right.
And each color is a different level of rarity. And so what they've been doing is they've just kind of been adding more and more of these parallels, more and more different colors.
And you think that's a mistake?
Well, it does get it. We are to the point where they have, especially this year with the product, they've really watered it down and they've made it really difficult for the new people coming in to understand what's rare and what's not rare and all that.
At events like this too, Geoff, I imagine, just like SHOT Show is for us, these events is a great opportunity to sit with some of the heads of the companies or spend a little time and tell them what you're seeing in the marketplace and kind of maybe hopefully they listen and adjust. Most of the time they don't, but maybe they adjust a little bit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes and no.
I don't know how interested they are in what I have to say versus what their P&L is telling them at the end of the day. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but yes, there is opportunity to give feedback. Now, this conference in particular, though, has been an interesting one because a few weeks ago, the news came out that Fanatics was not.
Yeah, I want you to get into that.
Yeah,
what that means.
So Topps, for example, has been producing baseball cards for 70 years. Fanatics just took away from Topps the ability for Topps to create baseball cards.
You want another soda?
No, I'm good. By getting an exclusive license deal with Major League Baseball. So and this doesn't start for a few years, but a few years from now, baseball cards will shift from being made by Topps, as they have in the last 70 years, to being made by Fanatics. And that's got the whole, kind of card world in upheaval. Same with Panini. Panini is losing the licenses for basketball and football cards. Those are going to go to Fanatics as well. This all happens a few years from now. But it certainly was interesting timing with this convention going on and the executives from Panini being there. And then you had one of the leaders of Fanatics there. So it's kind of a, interesting dynamic.
Do you think it'll be a good thing?
I do think it will be a good thing because while there's some disadvantage to it, the fact that Fanatics, two things, right? So Fanatics is pouring all kinds of money into this. And Fanatics is a much larger company with the ability to do a heck of a lot more advertising and bring more promotion. But then also the sports leagues themselves are getting ownership of this new venture. So the company that creates cards will be owned 55% by Fanatics, and it will be owned 15% by Major League Baseball, 15% by the NBA, and 15% by the NFL. That's a huge deal to have the sports leagues actually now wanting to embrace cards because they've got part ownership.
Do you think they're doing that because they know what's coming with the NCAA?
That's interesting.
I wanted to pull on your investor, heartstrings with this question because I feel like you see where it's going and they got to get their arms around it now, especially the memorabilia piece.
Yeah. No, that's very, a lot's changing in that world right at the same time, right? Like, so now all the college athletes can actually monetize their own name, image, and likeness. You could previously, before right now, you could never see a college athlete on a card until they graduated college and signed with an agent. Okay. Then all of a sudden they could be on cards for the first time. Now that's all changed. Now college athletes can go sign their own card deals. and you've got companies like Panini that are starting to sign some of the college athletes and that kind of thing. So it's, memorabilia deals. Fanatics can go in and get the actual jerseys of the college athletes, and whereas they previously couldn't do that.
I think that's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing.
I think it's a great thing. I don't know where you sit on it.
The disadvantage, I guess, for purists is it's turning, it's further separate. It's these college sports teams. It's really almost further separating them from the colleges itself, because it's becoming like, they're their own minor league. They're their own professional organization, especially at this point. So the association with the college is maybe starting to become even a little more tenuous. But the truth of the matter is, it's been this way for a while. It's just kind of happened behind the scenes. And a lot of the players were kind of getting screwed.
They're just trying to get their piece. They're just trying to get their piece.
And they should. And I'm all about, people being able to get their piece. Free market. These college kids, they're putting in the work. They're the ones who are taking the injury risk. They're the ones who are out, hustling every day. If your school is benefiting from it, they should get part of it.
Well, I think it takes the pressure off the bureaucracy of the colleges to make sure they're fed, because now you're making them a little entrepreneurial early on. Mm-hmm. And now, like, they can go out, they can shop a deal, they can do something, and they're not. Listen, a lot of these guys, with the exception, I would say, Geoff, and I want your opinion. Unless a LeBron came along at the college level, or what Jordan did at North Carolina, I don't think you're going to see guys. I think it'll be a while before you see multi-million-dollar deals. I'm not saying it's beyond the realm of possibility, because you're still taking a chance on a guy that has to graduate and go on and so on and so on. As much as you want to spend a couple $100s on a Trevor Lawrence rookie card, Trevor Lawrence still has to play a snap.
Correct.
So,
correct. No, you're right. And there have been a few college athletes thus far that have received a total of more than $1 million in endorsements, but it's like the quarterback for Alabama.
Sure.
I think that Oklahoma quarterback, once you get beyond that level, it's going to be all smaller deals.
It levels off.
What it really does, it's going to get big dollars in the hands of the absolute cream of the crop, household name, top college stars. The secondary level of college stars is going to be fighting for the, $500 appearance at the local car dealership, or the $1,000 to sign 300 footballs or something. Yeah,
that's Adam Vinatieri doing Dunkin' Donuts commercials when I was a kid. Like, there Rotmans. Brady got Uggs. If I got Vinatieri.
But you know what? That's actually a great thing for local business as well. In fact, we were talking about this yesterday, because at the conference, because you have the owners at this conference, you've got the owners of many of the big local card shops, and one of the messages was, hey, go get your local college athletes to do appearances at your card shop and to do signings. You could pay these guys, as long as it's not like the star quarterback, you could pay, the starting wide receiver $1,000. He'll come to your card shop, sit there for 3 hours, sign autographs, and he's thrilled with $1,000 to go do that for a couple hours. It's a great local publicity thing for you.
Cody Stamen just did one. He's a UFC fighter. He was in contact with me. Cody just did one the other day, and I told him I was having you on. And you're seeing more and more of this, the coming back, I should say. When I was a kid, you saw it once in a while, but now I like the strength of the card shops now, because they're well financed, they've made money, they're fat and rich. Like I say about the FFLs and gun shop owners, it's what they do now with the money, Geoff, that's critical to the sport, because you guys, the high-end collectors, have done the groundwork of driving it up. Now you need the foot soldiers, the shops out there, to really invigorate the sport by bringing a lot of these people in and causing that excitement to get people out to get those signatures. I think I'm right in saying that. I think that contributes a tremendous amount to the ground level of the hobby.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, it's huge. And we got another box here. We've talked about the UFC. Let's crack these for fun. And I didn't want to get big boxes, guys. These are nice little boxes for us to kind of talk through and open up. And
well, this is a great box. This is the let's
H2.
See, hybrid, right? So UFC Select H2, that's a hybrid product. So again, this is only 4 packs. This is kind of another big hit, type product. So you're going to get some numbered cards in here. You're going to get the opportunity to pull something real special, like a number to 10 card or something of that nature.
A John Jones or a Valentina in here.
There you go. Now you're going to have to help me. You're going to have to help me a bit.
Oh, I'm gonna. That's why I did UFC this. Yeah, we're gonna screw around with this.
I've got on my team, I've got some guys who are just crazy about UFC.
Here's the box, guys.
They help me out, because I'm.
They're trying to get you into soccer too,
right? That's the thing, man. I came into this, knowing a lot about football, a lot about a lot about basketball, some about baseball, but man, nothing about UFC or soccer.
Shout out to Game Day too. I bought this to support them when they gave me the other packs. I was like, hey, I'll buy a box too.
Awesome.
You know, they're great guys over there. Shout out to Game Day.
There you go. Good card shop
Again.
here in Vegas
Yeah,
for sure.
great guys.
Game Day Sports.
Let's see what we get. These are a little trickier to open. And we're going to... Ooh, a Michael Chandler right on the back. That's a great looking card. This is... I'm glad I pulled this. I'm going to tell you why. This to me is a great looking card. And this to me symbolizes where the UFC could eventually go in terms of how cool these freaking cards are. And I know you're a lover of the Kobe Jordan type cards where they have the NBA patches and they're just, the presentation of them is gorgeous. These are gorgeous.
Yeah, these are gorgeous. No, yeah, they've done a nice job with this set of cards for sure. And, you know, there's not nearly as many UFC cards out there as there are, you know, basketball cards, football cards, etc. So the rarity helps from that perspective as well.
We actually pulled two really good cards.
Okay.
We got a Max Holloway in here too.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we pulled two really good
And that's
cards.
one of
Michael
those,
Chandler.
they call those the disco prisms. Yeah.
I thought these were super cool. There's a few base cards in here. A Gilbert Burns that's halfway decent.
Yeah, so I just got a card number to 5.
Oh, it's a Sterling too.
Yeah, Sterling card number to 5. So that's pretty sweet.
Now, why are you so weak on the UFC in terms of I don't mean to use the word weak, but like, do you just not a fight fan before you came here?
Yeah, I just never really honestly paid a whole lot of attention to it. But I totally respect the fact that it has been, you know, one of the quickest growing sports in America. It is becoming more and more relevant every single day in pop culture. I mean, even outside of the sport.
What do you think of the celebrity fights?
Every single day.
Bullshit.
Yeah, well, sure, bullshit. Sure, bullshit. But, you know, entertaining, gets more people involved. And I will tell you this story.
It's a Valentina.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I'll get her to sign it.
Talking about these UFC cards. So this guy in my office who's super into UFC, he said, Geoff, no one's talking about UFC cards. This was last summer. He goes, no one's talking about UFC cards. You better buy some. He goes, I think these things will explode in popularity. So I didn't know enough about the fighters to know, you know, the individual ones I wanted to invest in. So instead what I did was I bought boxes like these from 2017, 2018, 2019. And I left the boxes sealed. And this is another way you can invest in cards. Buy the wax, but don't open it. Leave it sealed. These boxes tend to go up in value over time. So here's the story. I bought what's the equivalent of 24 boxes, 2 cases of 2017 Topps Chrome UFC. So all sealed boxes, 24 boxes of these. For the 24 boxes, I paid $5,000 is what I paid last summer. So a little bit over $200 a box. Those boxes right now are selling for well over $2,000 a box. So my $5,000 that I bought last summer is now worth well over $50,000 in just holding on to sealed UFC boxes for 1 year.
I watched something, Geoff. I don't know if it's a rumor. You can correct me and correct everybody as we open these. What goes on? I've heard there's a case of, what is it, the 86 Fleer Jordan's rookie that's gone at auction.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a couple of those. Yeah, there was
Mint.
The last that I saw, was an unopened case. It went for a case of, I think, 12 boxes. And the last one I saw sold last year for, I think, about 1.7, 1.8 million. Honestly, today, that's worth a lot more than that. Whoever got in and bought that at 1.7 million, that's probably worth 3 or 4 million today. There may have been another one that has sold since. That
to me is the craziest thing I've heard. More than the Hornus Wagner, more than the Jordan Kobe, dual NBA patch.
Right.
Is the cases, because it's the thrill, right?
It's the thrill.
It's the thrill.
Yeah.
It's the spec.
Yeah, honestly, investing in sealed cases and sealed wax, sealed boxes, and not opening it can often be your best investment over time. This is GOAT there, right?
Chuck Liddell.
Within the UFC realms. That's his silver card.
I have one here I can flex a little knowledge. So here's a Cyril Gagne.
Okay.
So Cyril Gagne just won, as you know, he's the number one contender. He's the intermittent champion. Cyril Gagne cards have been on the rise in terms of pricing and everything else since he's come into the limelight. He recently became the number one contender in the heavyweight division, and Paris has opened up to the UFC. Okay, so they can do events in France. Probably they're going to do one in Paris. He's from France, and his cards and just his placement in the UFC put him in a really good position to do well. And is that where you start to see the values rise?
Yeah.
When the circumstances start to dictate, luck starts to meet success and potentially maybe even a championship, and this is a good guy to take a flyer on.
So there you go. That's one way to approach sports card investing, is to invest in young up-and-coming fighters or players in any sport who you're like, you know what, the things could align for that guy.
Right.
I'm going to take a chance on him. Obviously, it's speculative, but you put some money, you put some money in that, and you take a chance on him. And if it pays off, if his career progresses the way you think it might, his cards are just going to rise and rise in value as it goes.
To me, that's where the fun is, the fantasy a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's where the growth is. Now, talk to me about, while we're opening the scammers. Now, there's a lot of guys doing box breaks on the internet and a lot of people getting into that. And I see guys with such shoddy behavior in terms of how they open cards. You got to be careful of that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes. There's a lot of, though, really well-established breakers that have done it professionally for many, many years. And if you I'd stick with those guys.
Yeah.
Like, go with the professionals. Go with the guys who are putting on an honest show. Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is like a guy who, goes on a Facebook group and says, hey, everyone buy into this box with me and I'll open up all the packs and split up all the cards. And then maybe if you're dealing with somebody who's not reputable, you hear stories of guys who end up pulling a really huge card and they're like, well, screw that, I'm not going to send it to the person who bought it, or they try to fake like that wasn't the card they pulled or something like that. But it happens in anything, though. But go with reputable people, go with people you trust.
Yeah, don't use a guy that is using what I would call poor mechanics.
Right.
Pay attention to that stuff for sure, especially if you're spending money. I mean, let's not get crazy here. Last pack, guys. I did just pull a Chris Weidman. Ooh, we got a Justin Gagey on the back. I'm excited. Carla Esparza, 10th Planet Girl. All right.
This guy's a beast.
Oh, yeah. Is he? I got it. Oh, my God. Jeff,
what do you got?
We're friends for life.
Look at that.
Same time.
You got an Izzy too, huh? You got an Izzy as well.
Go. Number 64. Cody Garbrandt.
There you go.
Oh, beautiful card.
Number to 199.
Beautiful card.
Valentina. Cool.
Here's another Cyril Gagne rookie. Now, this is an example of just a base rookie.
Right.
And that's where the death of 1,000 parallels comes into play, as we're discussing.
It is.
And a Justin Gagey and a little bit of a disco red.
Yeah, let me see what other rookies I got in here. I got, so the rookie cards have like a little RC symbol, right, on them. So that tells you that's the first official card of that particular fighter. So if you, ideally, any player you're collecting, their first cards are over time going to have the most value. So if you're ideally pulling, you're looking for cards of guys who it's their first card, their rookie card. Those are the ones that over time people are going to want to collect.
What we're going to have to do is the next time you're out here, I challenge sports card investors, and I challenge the sports card investor from that group, Jeff, to come to a UFC fight.
I would love to do that.
My treat.
I appreciate that. I would love to do that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Good card. We'll find a good card next time you're out. We'll
That'd be a lot
of fun.
There.
But yeah, these are gorgeous cards, and I really enjoy opening the UFC cards. Now, explain to everybody why, so they understand, because I get this question a lot, why some packs and why some groupings of cards are very limited. Like we opened a box that had a little bit less cards than these. Why are some of the boxes far less cards? Is the value necessarily always higher, or is it not? Just so everybody understands, less doesn't mean better.
Yeah, so, the way the manufacturers make the products is so they'll make several different sets a year. So for like UFC, that's newer, so there's not as many sets of it. But they came out with Prism this year. Panini came out with Prism UFC, and now most recently they've come out with Select UFC, and then they're about to come out with Chronicles UFC that comes out next month. And every time they come out with one of these sets, they have a slightly different strategy to the set. Some of the sets are, you get a lot of cards, and there's a lot of them printed, and then therefore the boxes are going to be a little cheaper. The individual cards are going to be a lot cheaper because you get a whole lot of cards in a box. Some of the sets, they make it where you get less cards per box. They may be a little more expensive and you get less cards overall. And so the idea there is that each individual card has more value. If you're opening up a box with less cards, it's going to be it's high risk, high reward.
Right.
You got less cards overall, so it's really like if you don't pull a good one, you got less chances to pull a good one. But if you pull a good one, it could be particularly valuable because it's more rare. If you open a box with a ton of cards, then chances are you're going to pull the card of most players you want to pull because you got a lot more shot at pulling a really good player, but those cards are probably going to be less valuable because there's just a lot more printed of them overall.
Now, a lot of people are asking about storage. What is the best way to store these? Don't put it in a book. Don't put it in a fucking
that's the mistake. Those of us who collected back in the 80s, back in the 90s, like we did, that's the mistake people made is they got cards. I had Jordan cards from the 80s, but I didn't ever store them properly. That's actually part of the reason why they're so valuable today. Those cards, there were a lot of Jordan rookie cards printed. It's not like it was a rare card. There were tons. There were probably hundreds of thousands of Jordan rookie cards printed. But the issue is that most of those cards were not stored by people properly. And so and there's such a variance in how much a card is worth based on the condition that it's in. So if you get a card of any type of value at all, like for example some of these UFC cards we just pulled. What you want to do is you want to put it in ideally a penny sleeve, which is just a soft little plastic, flexible sleeve, and then take it from the penny sleeve and then put it in a top loader, which is a harder plastic. And I think you've got both over there. You got both penny sleeves and top loaders.
Yeah, but I'm an amateur compared to you guys. I'm just trying here. I'm doing the best. I get all kinds of bad. Geoff is going to correct all my malfeasance here. There's just a lot of it going on. I'm a hot mess with this stuff because I came into this just a fan of some of the fighters, and I, being friends with some of them, that's where my collecting comes from. I get excited when I pull a Mike Chiesa or a Cody Stamen or a Claudia Gadeja or a Valentina, the folks I like and follow and pay attention to. But some of these cards are they're simply beautiful. Panini does a phenomenal job. Shout out to Panini. And again, Game Day Sports Cards, guys, thanks. We love these cards. Geoff's going to take any cards he wants because I want him to remember this moment. He doesn't need my cards. My cards are shit compared to his cards, but I want him to take whatever he'd like.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
He gets indoctrinated into the UFC, and I'm glad you spent some time with
These will be my first individual UFC cards. As I said, I've invested in UFC boxes. But I haven't actually ripped this 2021 Select UFC, even though it's been a very, very popular product. So thank you for the opportunity to do this, and thank you to Game Day as well.
No, it's a fun, guys. If you're trying to see if there's anything there down in the basement, in terms of feelings, rip open one box, just see if something's there. If not, move right on down the road. But as an investment part of your portfolio, I do believe my advice to all you guys is you got to look at a couple of the classics. I think you got to put a few of them in your portfolio to put my investment advisor hat on. I think you need one or two hard assets. I mean, You're sitting in a room where I got a lot of them. So, I think there's something to be said about that. But have cards risen to the level of precious metals, Geoff? Is it in that space now or no?
To me, that's the thing. Some people, they're critical of the idea of investing in sports cards. They're like, wait, it's a piece of cardboard with a player printed on it. Like, what is this in terms of an investment? But I'm like, yeah, but people have been investing. I mean, what is the difference between that and investing in diamonds,
a bottle of wine,
investing in a bottle of wine, or even to a degree gold? Or now, granted, I recognize that's had a historical value for many more years. But so have sports cards, by the way. I mean, there were people paying big dollars for Mickey Mantle and Honus Wagner cards 30, 40 years ago. And that you've got a consistent track record of those cards going up and up and up and up in value. In fact, sports cards as a whole have way outpaced the S&P 500 index over the last 20 years. They way outpaced the S&P 500 index. So there's a long history there. People have been investing in fine art for many years. Picassos have gone up and up and up in value over the last, many years. And a Michael Jordan rookie card, in my opinion, is a modern day Picasso. It's a form of art. It's a form of investing in something that you want to display, you want to collect, that you want to love. And to be quite frank, I think that, 10, 20 years from now, you're going to, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, you're going to have a lot more people in this world that would want to invest in a, Conor McGregor rookie card and display that on their wall than they would want to invest in an Andy Warhol painting and put that on their wall.
There's some truth to that, 100%. 100%. Now, do you think some of the custom guys coming in is good for the marketplace? Do you think that that's going to have its place as well? Because we see that in every industry, right? You get these unlicensed guys that come into it and they put their own spin on it. Do you think that's good in a micro dose?
Not for investment. No, I mean,
for investment.
There's a lot of guys that are doing custom cards now, not licensed. They're really cool to look at. There's some fantastic artists that have been doing, artistic renditions of cards or beautiful stuff. In fact, I've bought a number of larger format ones. I bought ones where artists have taken basically the exact card, but then have turned it into a piece for
like
the
a
wall.
Neiman.
Yeah, really, really cool stuff. And so, but I mean, in terms of investment value, no. But in terms of, just the continued collision of art and sports cards, I think is a really good thing. And so, I think that's great. That's going on.
How long before you and your team start going beyond sports cards?
Soon, very soon, because it's not just sports cards that have exploded. It's many different forms of collecting. Now, the next obvious place for us to go is in trading card games, right? Pokemon, which has seen a incredible explosion of its own in popularity, and Magic the Gathering and some other sets. In fact, I was just over the weekend learning about MetaZoo, which is a fairly new trading card game that's on the scene. The prices of those cards on the secondary market have gone berserk. Mm-hmm. That they started with a Kickstarter, a year ago, less than a year ago. People were buying $100 into a Kickstarter to get one of the very first boxes ever produced. Those boxes are all now on eBay selling between $7,000 and $9,000 that people paid $100 for. Even their first edition boxes, which only hit stores a couple months ago, have gone up in value by multiples. So
right.
MetaZoo, I think, is a big up and coming one. But there's trading card games are really interesting to me. But comics are exploding in popularity and value. Sealed video games.
There's some controversy with the video game space now. The grading space.
There is. I saw a little bit of that. I don't know. I'm not going to profess to be an expert on video games at all. But what I will say is that I think there's I think all of these forms of collecting actually have long-term sustainability, because again, why not take a portion of your money, don't liquidate your damn 401k, but why not take 5% and put it in an area where you can actually invest in things that you love versus having it in a bank or buying stock certificates of companies that have no meaning or association to you. Here's an opportunity for you to invest in items that maybe have some significance in your life and have a long-term historical track record of appreciating in value, at least when it comes to cards. Not as much with sealed video games, that's newer, but when it comes to something like cards. But to me, even video games make a lot of sense, because the whole thing here is this is hearkening back to people's childhoods.
Big time.
I mean, video games, Nintendo games, Mario, they were huge parts of my childhood. Would I like to own a sealed Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? Yeah, hell yeah, I would. I spent thousands of hours in my childhood playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So
that was the biggest.
It's cool.
That was the biggest robbery in the history of sports, Jeff. They got him for what, $50,000 on the box?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm a trivia. I love sport. Yeah, they got him for $50,000. Somebody correct me out there if I'm wrong. I know I see you guys commenting, but I believe Tyson signed the deal thinking what's this going to be, and it was $50,000. And everybody talks about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, so it's pretty funny to me. Mm-hmm. But you're right. It's bleeding into other areas, and I have an example of it. I want to get your hot take on it. I recently went out and bought my dream comic book. This is a confession. It's up here. I have a Spider-Man Secret Wars.
And you got it graded too.
So hang on. I'll grab it.
This is great.
You're giving your take. So away from everybody. I should have brought this down earlier.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah, so this is the Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8.
The first appearance of Venom.
First appearance of Venom from 1984. And the comic book is in really good condition. You got a tiny little bent corner there, but I mean, for something from 1984 that I'm sure was paged through and everything like that, it's an exceptional quality book. They graded it at 9.4, which is near mint. So
now,
with these comic book ratings, a 9.8 is basically like a perfect score, right?
As a drastically amateur collector, what I did was I took a look at the landscape so everybody knows, and I saw that the new Venom movie was coming out, and I saw recently the #1 Spider-Man went at auction for a pretty big ticket. So I said, why not take a flyer on the first appearance of Venom?
Yep.
And I believe I scooped that up for a round, and everybody, I can post this in my stories to verify, I believe I got it for about $250.
Yeah.
So I in my opinion, I stole it because I think 10s were going for about $800.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I swooped in at a reasonable price. I looked around forever. I didn't want to bite the bullet because to me that was a threshold that was a little high. But gorgeous book, and that was a dream purchase.
And by
of
the
mine.
way, I love the strategy there. You're right. The Venom movie's coming out. I love the strategy. There are also, interestingly, there's also cards. Marvel cards too. And so in fact, just yesterday I was talking with my team about it because some of them have gotten very into Marvel cards. There's a 1990 was the first edition of Marvel trading cards.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a Venom card that you can buy from 1990
Venom
Marvel.
rookie.
That would be considered Venom's rookie card. But this is really his a more true rookie because this is 1984. So this is him appearing on a comic book in 1984 is kind of more exciting than him appearing on a card in 1990. And by the way, John, like the ability to put money into something like this versus just, a nameless stock. I mean, how cool of a backdrop would it be if you did a whole series of these on the wall, right? I mean, it's like, well,
maybe when we're done, we'll redo
so
the studio. You can
there.
blow off the rest of the convention. We'll redo the whole studio in here.
There you go.
But you're 100% right. And I brought a sampling of cards that Geoff was going through, rookie cards and whatnot. And I listened to his philosophy, and to everybody out there that thinks, I'm going to just rip packs. I went out and did what Geoff said. I went out and bought a Brady rookie. I went out and bought, some of the newer guys. I bought some classic stuff. And I looked at it as like, if I only had $5,000 to throw at this, let me get a few classics that I can find value in right now and set them aside and build my own little portfolio, my own mini collection. And I think there's some benefit to riding most of it and only trading real time. Mm-hmm. Some smaller items like the Trevor Lawrences, like the what's his face from the Patriots and Mac Jones. Sorry, I always want to say Brady. That's why it's just habit growing up in Boston. But buying some of those to kind of have in the case that I can move around, but upgrading to Hall of Fame type level cards, which I think are the holy grail, right? At the end of the day, for the most part.
Yeah, well, those are the ones that you want to hold on to for the long term, as you said, right? Like,
for sure.
Who knows if Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones are going to have any value in 5 or 10 years. If Jones comes in and struggles for the next 2 years with the Patriots and then they sit him on the bench and eventually cut him, his cards won't be worth anything.
How dare you say that, Geoff?
But on the flip side, if Jones comes back in and shows that he's the next Brady, then his cards are going to go up 10-fold or 20-fold or 50-fold, right? So guys like Lawrence and Jones and the younger guys in all the sports, that's your speculative bet that you're hoping pays off, and it could pay off in a big way.
Sure.
Your Hall of Famers, your retired players in any sport, right? You could, if you're in a football, Elway, Marino. I think Peyton Manning cards right now are really, really undervalued. I think he's a great guy to be buying right now. And so I would, scoop up those guys, stick them away in your safe, let him sit there for 10 years, pull him back out, and I think you'll be pretty happy you did.
And if you notice, guys, pay attention to this if you haven't. Geoff has removed a lot of his emotion about the players out of it. He's looking at it as strictly an investment, so don't get emotional and just fall in love with one guy, right? Like, you got to spread it around.
You should try to diversify if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, because like even if if you're investing to players currently playing, you're just as serious injury away from those cards losing a lot of value. Now, that's less true for someone like a well-established player, a Tom Brady, a LeBron James. Those guys, I mean, they've done enough that even if they don't, get injured and don't do anything anymore, they're okay. But for anyone who's still trying to prove things in their career, if their career kind of whittles away, those cards will drop. And even the Hall of Famers, you do have to worry a little bit that they don't go out and do anything stupid. That they
OJ,
exactly, right? Yeah, I mean, seriously, but that they don't get some domestic violence thing going on or whatever. So it's always good to diversify, not put all your money in, just like any other form of investing. You don't want to put all your money in one particular stock. You don't want to put all your money in one particular player or type of card. You want to mix it around.
Don't ride on a boat with a drunken skipper.
That's right.
That's simple advice.
That's right.
Now we got a $5 super chat from Biggles. He said, I have 15 books of trading card games. I have to go through them. It's so much fun. I got to get them out and rip through them. I think that's part of the fun, Biggles. I think it's just part of the fun going back through some stuff and seeing what you got. I think that's really important, and I think that's what Jeff's getting to, is start there. Start what you got in the closet. Start what you got in the attic, and see if there's something there, and if you think it can fit in your portfolio. What do you advise, Jeff, an amount of money people start with? As you have your discretionary money. Let's just say this to all the men out there. I think you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about here like your PayPal money, your Venmo money. What do you advise guys that just want to get into it and put a piece in their portfolio use? $5,000, $10,000 at a base level?
Yeah, you can even get started for less than that. I mean, I think if you could get $1,000 together, that would allow you to buy graded. What I would do is I would buy graded, ideally rookie cards from brands you can afford of maybe 3 or 4 different players, right? So like if you were like, for example, my son, who's 10 years old, he has accumulated $500, some of which he got from flipping cards actually. And I went to a card show recently and he gave me the $500 to take with me. And he's like, hey dad, I would like to get a Josh Allen card and a Kyler Murray card before the season starts. And he had, previous to that, given me $200 to get him a Baker Mayfield card. So for $700, and I was able to get him, not their top brands, but I was able to get him Gem Mint 10 graded. For Kyler Murray, I got him a what's called a Donruss Optic, Gem Mint 10 graded for $200, rookie card. For Josh Allen, because Josh Allen's cards are significantly more expensive, we'll see if that actually remains true, because Kyler Murray had one heck of a good game. Right. His cards have been going up. But for Josh Allen, I got him a base Donruss, so not a Donruss Optic, but a Donruss base, Gem Mint 10 graded for $300. And then Baker Mayfield, we got a Prism rookie card of his, graded a 9 instead of a 10.
Oh, wow.
And that card was, I think, about $200. So for $700, he got 3 of the kind of up-and-coming quarterbacks in the league, a key rookie card for each of the 3, and I was going to hold on to them. We're going to see what happens with them this season, and maybe he sells one at the end of the season. If the cards double in price, we'll see.
Is there any thought to starting a fund?
Yeah, there's some people that have done it. It may be something we pursue in the future. If you're gonna like, honestly, I like
Peter Thiel on the phone.
What's
Jesus,
that?
Have to get Peter Thiel on the phone or something.
I like sealed wax. If I were to start a fund, I would actually start a fund of sealed wax rather than individual cards. And by that, I mean, I would go buy a whole lot of boxes.
And make that the base of the fund?
Not as much the current year stuff, but I would go buy a whole bunch of boxes of older stuff, but the boxes are still sealed and authenticated. And then I would, just put that all together and hold on to that.
I think that's the future of it, Jeff. I think eventually a guy like you is going to come in and you're going to start a fund. And I think you're gonna say we're going to back it with 20 million of boxes. You know what I'm saying? That are only going to go up in value. And I think that's the seed. That's how you get it rolling. And I think from there, it's trading in and out of the fund to raise the value of the fund. And then I think you might have something there.
Yep.
Because then I think a lot of people would do exactly what your son just did, is buy in. And I think that's the way, because you have the knowledge, you have the understanding. Instead of doing box breaks and stuff like that, and to everybody, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying the future of where I think this could go is a guy like you can come in and say, let me do the trading for you within the fund, just like you would a stock. And I'll handle all that, and you can invest in it. Am I wrong in saying that, or
no? 100%, you are correct.
Yeah.
And there's some startups that have, like, you got some companies that are in the fractional ownership space now that are kind of doing that on an individual level, though. They're just doing it with individual cards or individual boxes. I do see need and opportunity for people to treat it more as almost like a kind of a mutual fund that you can buy shares of, and the fund owns all these different types of assets and boxes and everything.
Exactly, like a backed fund, a hard asset backed fund. Now, just like any other industry, I'm sure you've been behind a lot of closed doors and met a lot of quiet collectors. What are a couple of ridiculous collections you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, just here in Vegas.
No names, obviously.
Sure. Well, just here in Vegas, I was, well, actually, I was at a card show in Dallas, but the guy is a fairly prominent dealer here in Vegas, and he let me hold $1 million LeBron James
pretty crazy
card. Yeah. At the National, there were several cards at the National in Chicago that were over $1 million. We held a $15 million LeBron James rookie card. LeBron James most valuable, one of one, logo man, rookie card. About 15 million is the estimated value of that. I mean, that's the LeBron James. If you have one LeBron James card, that's it, and it's 15 million. And we held it.
It's crazy.
And there were several cards at the National that are like that. So yeah, I've seen some wild stuff. I mean, there's collectors who I know who have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cards. It's wild. It's wild, but it's you know what? They've made a lot of money with it.
Yeah, I've gone in some vaults and some guys through the years being in the business I'm in, and I've seen some ridiculous firearms collections, things like that, and I'm just like blown away at some of the stuff I see, the stuff you never even imagined, which was possible, just rose like in people's base. Like you go downstairs and you're just like, what? Like this was here. So I've had a lot of those moments happen to me myself, and when you see them and you actually get to hold them, it's almost surreal. You almost feel like it's an unreal moment that you're in. I mean, I can't imagine what holding a $15 million piece of cardboard feels like. I'm man enough to say I've never held anything like that. But
you want to make sure you don't drop it. That's what it feels like.
All right,
You're
right.
Like, wow. Okay, I'm gonna use two hands here and try to.
Now I know time's sensitive for you, and we're getting on in time, but I want to bring this up. As a marketing guy, and if you watch some of my podcasts in the past, I think the biggest risk you've taken, and I think the biggest thing you're doing, is you went all in. I mean, you developed a team, you brought people in, you're paying employees, you got a lot going on. I mean, you are all in on this. And what gives you the foresight to see that? At what point were you like, we got to build this out? Like, this is like, obviously you walk in here, this isn't a podcast in somebody's basement. This has been built out.
You've put a lot of value. You got a nice setup here, by the way.
Yeah.
Really nice setup.
I appreciate that.
Pro level here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, we take it very seriously. And I know you do too. What was the trigger that you're like, I have to go all in on this, and this is the space? The
trigger was when I really started to see the traction. I started to invest more and more. So when I first launched my YouTube show, Sports Card Investor, just over 2 years ago, I had this thesis, I had this concept that sports cards were going to explode in popularity.
Right.
And I also had the concept that people wanted to hear about the dollars and cents behind sports cards. They wanted to be able to track the charts and see if they're going up or down. They wanted to understand all of that. But before I wanted to hire a big team or invest a lot of money, I wanted to prove out that was actually the case. So I said, you know what? I'm first going to start by doing a YouTube show, and I'll just see what kind of viewership and traction it gets. And if the YouTube show starts to grow in popularity, then that will tell me that, oh yeah, there's a whole group of people who want to think of cards the same way I do. And so therefore, if I start building products and start introducing other things in the marketplace, there's going to be a whole audience to sell those things to, and that this thing will continue to grow.
Right.
So I started the YouTube show, very low budget. I had nowhere near as fancy of a setup as you have here at first. I went out and, spent probably $150 on Amazon to get a decent microphone and 2 lights.
Did you hear that, everybody?
Yeah.
Say it again. $150
on Amazon. Got 2 lights, and got a decent microphone, and then I recorded off of my iPad, and that's all I did. And
baller on a budget.
And I did the editing. I did the editing myself using iMovie on my Mac, and if you go back and you watch my first episodes, You can tell,
Yeah,
it's like,
mine too. Yeah.
The lighting's not wonderful, and this, it's not, the editing is not super crisp because I just threw it together myself and put it out there. But it was enough to get going, and it helped prove the market and helped prove the traction. And once I saw the viewership going up, the subscribers going up, then the next thing I said is, okay, I need to create a data product that will allow people to track
right.
the charts of sports cards.
And that's where
market movers came in. So I started building that. And so I hired a few developers, put some investment into getting that going. And basically, as that started selling and subscribers kept going up, I just kept reinvesting more and more money into this because I'm like,
you're not pulling anything out. If I know a guy like you, you're not pulling.
No, I am pouring a ton of stuff in because I'm betting on this 5 years from now.
10xing.
10 years from now. I mean, people think sports cards have done this incredible rise over the last 2 years, and they have. I think we're just getting started. And I think this stuff with Fanatics getting involved, and now the NFL and Major League Baseball and the NBA owning a percentage of the company that's going to produce sports cards going forward, I think that's going to be huge. I think you're going to see sports cards in stadiums. I think you're going to see sports cards on television broadcasts of those games.
Ooh.
And I mean, what have they introduced the starting lineup for Sunday Night Football by showing their trading card? What if they did that? The popularity again, I think we're just getting started. I think this thing's going to continue to boom.
That's some interesting points. Now, I agree with you. I think it's gonna 10x, and I think we're gonna see a lot of growth in that space. And I do think people have to consider it, whether it's a small percentage of your portfolio or something. I think it has to be considered. I think hard assets are a good thing. I think having some of them, whether you collect wine, whether you collect cards, whether you collect comics, but I think there's something special to it. I know a lot of people have said, people were home during COVID. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think Geoff and I's generation was a very retro generation, and we had, in my opinion, the best retro period ever, which was late 70s, 80s, and early 90s, which was really, if you look at it, the bedrock of the GOATs, okay? That was the starting point of the Gretzkys, the Jordans, and even to an extent, the Elway, Brady, Peyton transition. And I think that triggered a lot of this because there's a lot of nostalgia there. I mean, to have 3 GOATs in that time period says a lot about where collecting can go. And when people say, oh, it was COVID and people went in their attic, I think that's a misnomer. I don't think that's completely accurate.
Yeah, and I'll prove it's a misnomer. If you want to see that this was not all fueled by COVID, go back and look at the charts of how prices of cards were going up back in January, February, and the first part of March of last year before COVID hit. Those were some of the hottest months the sports card hobby had ever seen. The 3 months leading up to COVID were some of the hottest months the sports card market had ever seen. COVID actually hurt the sports card market for the first few weeks because when sports shut down and the market dropped, then it came back, and then of course it was super hot all through the latter part of last year. But I'm telling you, everything we're seeing today with, the popularity of cards, that was happening. That was the groundswell of that was occurring prior to COVID.
Do you speak to a lot of card shop owners, and do you try to dispense a little bit of advice to them? Because I'm constantly talking to FFL and gun shop owners because now they're flush with cash. Obviously, we've had a huge run. The only market I would challenge you on that's grown more than the sports card world would be the firearms market during this period. There's no question whether you're a collector, an acquirer, an ammo purchaser. Ammo's gone up, 1,000% in this time period. So do you see, for the collector, unlimited amount of growth and they can do no wrong, but they need to come in with an education versus come in with a plan and execute the plan?
Yeah, you got to do that. You got to educate yourself. It's not free money. It's not easy money. And it's just like anything else in life. There are people who can get hurt in sports cards. There are people who have gotten hurt this year, even though the market overall has been really, really strong over the last 2 years. There has been a drop in the market since February. Now it's starting to go back up again. But what happened was you had a lot of FOMO happening in January and February. It was every single day cards were going up from where they were the day before. You saw these crazy, crazy, crazy jumps. And so tons of people were like, oh my God, I got to get into cards right now. And they fueled this kind of unsustainable spike that happened in February. And then things went way back down in March, April, May, and June. Now they're starting to come back up again. It's just, NFTs have been another thing that have been, in that case, a digital collectible, but they've been bouncing around. It's volatile, but for the most part.
Are you a fan of NFTs?
I am actually. I actually think that NFTs and digital collectibles have a big role in the future as well.
People are scared to death of them, Geoff.
I think that people who are scared to death of them are not thinking about who the target audience is, who's going to drive those things up in value over the next 30 or 40 years.
Right.
I don't think 20-year-olds are scared to death of them.
No.
40-year-olds might be scared to death of them because they might be like, well, what the hell is this?
Right. What am I getting into?
Right. But 20-year-olds who are on their phone and they're living in a totally different generation, everything's digital, they place value on digital collectibles and digital things more so. I love the physical card, but I respect the millennial who likes the digital aspect of collecting as well. And so I think NFTs have a huge part in the collectible future as well.
Have you come across anyone that you were shocked they were a collector? I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, there's a lot of I guess closet collectors, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to bring them out more. There's
that's been my mission here on the show, is bring more people to the table that are open to these types of things.
Yeah, I had very, very well-known collector at this point in time. He's been very, very vocal and very out there. But like last summer, I got a call from Steve Aoki.
Yeah.
And he was...
Shout out to Steve.
Yeah, and back then he was under the radar, buying up a bunch of cards and wanted to kind of pick my brain a little bit and that kind of thing. And he was just wanting to, learn and kind of have his collection, have me help him track his collection and all this kind of stuff. And there are big name guys like that who are in the game. Some of them have, like Steve now is very, very public about it and has actually now got into the business himself, which is awesome. He's been he's given this whole thing a huge boost as well.
Adding that celebrity factor
100%. And where cards, and there's going to be more of that. You're going to see a lot more of that. And that's another reason why I'm very optimistic about cards as well. Cards, yesterday at the conference I'm at, Josh Luber, who is the founder of StockX and who's now actually leading Fanatics into sports cards. He's going to be the head of the new Fanatics venture. Yeah. So he gave he said something really cool during his talk yesterday, where he said sports cards are the only thing in the world that is, in his opinion, 25% culture, 25% commerce, 25% finance and investment, and 25% gambling. Because there is that aspect as well when you open up a box, right? But you have this collision of culture, commerce, investing, gambling, all coming into the same thing, which is boxes and cards. And that's a really, really powerful combination.
Yes.
And so the more culture that comes into it, the more pop culture, the more celebrities you see doing it, the more you see it being talked about on Instagram, by pop stars, all this kind of stuff, which you're going to see more and more of. That as the cool factor of sports cards increases, and it's no longer some overweight 65-year-old in his basement, and it's now rap stars and hip hop and
sounds like the firearms industry.
And all this kind of stuff.
Sounds a lot like it. Yeah.
Right. And so that is going to help lift it. But then you also have the investment people who are looking at it and putting big money in it. You got the commerce. You got how do the transactions of this happen more and more. And then you got the gambling bit. You got the breaking. You got the fun of opening a box, what we just experienced. That's a powerful combination.
Yeah, it is. Very powerful. I think you're right. And I think, I admire you for all the effort that you've put in. I love a guy that goes all in. I think that's phenomenal. And I think you're reading the tea leaves. And I think, honestly, you and your team are poised to do great things. And I love watching your videos because you give your team a lot of power and you give your team a lot of say. You're a lot like me. And here's the mic, here, let's, you want to develop more Geoffs. And that's what I like. And I love seeing that. When I see that in media, it excites me because you're only as good as who you can pull up. And that's important to me. When I watch that, I see a guy who's cultivating a team, who's building a culture, who's building a movement, and developing something that I think is really, really special, especially as you go into other areas. I'm excited to watch how it goes.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, John. If you do something that your passion is in, if your heart and soul is in, you can really do anything with it. You can produce. I mean, we see it with your show, right? I mean, I can tell from the moment I walked in here, I can tell how your heart is in a lot of these topics that you talk about and you cover in this show.
Sure.
And when you're like invested emotionally in something you're doing, it's just so much the passion, that you can put into your work, the creativity, and then the desire, as you said, to bring others along for the journey, to build them up in this as well. It's been an awesome ride.
And it's the quality of the production. You've come a long way from $150.
Yeah.
But I wanted to highlight that, because guys, to everybody out there that maybe watches Geoff's show or maybe even this one, start small. You don't need to go buy thousands of dollars of cameras. You don't need to do all that stuff. Just start simple. If you want to get into this and you want to collect, start as a collector. And then if you ever want to, make a push into a channel or something like that, I think it's great for the hobby. I think it's great for everybody. And we want to see more people in these things. I mean, I think it's huge.
100%. I agree. Yeah. The one thing that's been really great for sports cards, and it's great for every industry, is when more and more content creators come along and start doing 100%. Stuff, because it pulls more and more people into the conversation. And so I've been happy to see it. And as you said, it's get started. I mean, it's easy. If you're thinking, if you have any passion project out there and you want to start talking about it, whether you just go on Instagram and just flip on your live and just start talking about it. Yeah, 2 people might listen at first, but you get the experience, you get the passion. If you do it with consistency, takes a lot of consistency, but you can really start to build it up. It takes heart, passion, consistency, and it takes getting started, even on a low budget.
Well, Ryan Kinnell from RK Outpost said he'll sell me all his cards. Ryan, I am going to hold you to that. Shout out to the Geeks and Gamers guys. I know you're huge fans of collectibles. And, Geoff, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're time sensitive. You're in town. You're a busy man. This guy is basically the king of the card shows. You just, listen. I don't need to fluff him enough. He's phenomenal. Go check out his channel. Geoff, let everybody know where they can find you, how they can reach you, and how they can get in touch. Yeah,
I'm Sports Card Investor, so you can find Sports Card Investor on YouTube. We've got a podcast as well. If you prefer to listen that way, just search Sports Card Investor. Sorry, there's my phone going crazy over there. Let me turn that guy
He's
off.
Busy.
Just search Sports Card Investor on YouTube. Our website is sportscardinvestor.com. We've got tons of helpful resources there, articles you can get from there. Oh, by the way, a great thing for people to do to get started, even if you don't know anything about this, just simply go into the App Store. And this, for someone for someone who wants to sell you his cards,
Ryan, RK Outpost.
Go into the App Store and search for Sports Card Investor in the App Store on your phone. It's a free app. And it's a great, easy to use price guide. It'll tell you what all of your cards are worth. So get that Sports Card Investor app on your phone.
And we'll put the link down below, guys, to help Geoff out. And if any of you want to look into this, if you have collectibles or you're thinking of getting into collectibles, especially the sports card space, go check out the channel. Go support him. I respect him and what he's doing. And I think everybody could learn a little bit more about what's going on in the card world, for sure. I appreciate you.
Been awesome to be on, John. Thanks for having me.
Listen, I gotta say it. I'll say it on air. I was more excited about having you on than quite a few notable guests because I'm a fan. So I want everybody to know that. I appreciate you.
Well, you're doing a great job. Keep it going, and I look forward to checking back in with you down the road.
You got to come back,
and seeing how your collection has grown.
The offer stands. Take you to a fight. You got to come back. I'd love to have you.
I would love to do that.
Come back in town. I know everybody's a little leery of flying, but I loved having you.
Awesome. I
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the sponsors. Guys, head over to the website, www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. I can't thank you enough for tuning in. I want to thank a few of them now. Galotech Rhino Metals, Blackwater Ammunition, Inforce Weapon Lights, Sig Sauer. Go check out Sig. Appreciate everybody. Right on Optics as well. Everybody's going to be in town this week, guys. A little bit of update. We got a UFC event Saturday. I'm going to have all kinds of people in here. I got Mike from V Knives coming in later, and I got a whole crew coming through here this weekend. So stay tuned. A lot of good episodes. I appreciate all the comments and the super chats. Shout out to Biggles for that, and shout out to Ryan from RK Outpost. Thanks for stopping in. And Steph, I saw you too. Thanks for stopping in. We appreciate you. Go support Geoff and go throw him some like, share a picture, do something. I love you guys. I appreciate everybody. We're going to sign out.